Hi there, Stephen Hurd with eXp Realty here in Orange County, California. Today I want to give you 6 mistakes that I see home buyers make consistently in the last 12 years that I hope you can avoid. So mistake number 1 is not understanding the costs. Here's the interesting thing about real estate. There are lending costs, there are escrow costs, and then there are just your general closing costs. There's things that you pay up front, like your home inspection, your appraisal, and there is no formal list that covers every single one of these costs. In fact, I would say if you meet with 8 out of 10 realtors, 8 of them have no clue what all of the costs are. So what you want to do is do your due diligence. A, find a realtor who understands the costs and can explain them to you. Or B, do a lot of online research just to make sure you understand all the costs involved in buying a home. Common mistake number 2 is not having a strong pre-approval in place. A lot of times people will work backwards when buying a home for whatever reason. Instead of looking at exactly what they can afford and what they're approved for, they will start searching for properties, typically find a home they love. Then when they go to submit an offer, they're gathering all of their documents, everything they need. They're researching numbers to find out if they can afford it. And by the time they have their pre-approval, by the time they've looked at their budget, the home is gone because it's already had an offer on it from a serious buyer who was already pre-approved. So don't make that mistake. Before you go out and start home searching, it is so simple and easy to get a pre-approval. They're going to request a few documents from you. You're going to have a phone consultation with them. They'll answer your questions about how much your mortgage payment's going to be, what that looks like with taxes and HOA and insurance, and make sure that it fits in your budget. Then once you've got that target to aim at, now you go out and start searching for homes that fit that pre-approval amount. So that's mistake number 2. Okay, mistake number 3 when buying a home is being unrealistic. You know, as much, I got into real estate 12 years ago because I loved luxury properties. I loved to go look at really nice homes and visualize what it would be like to live there. That was really inspiring to me. And you know, not so long after I got into real estate, these shows started to get very popular. HGTV, Flip or Flop, and all these other shows in Hollywood that basically portrayed that it was not very expensive to buy these extremely upgraded homes. So when people now go out and start searching, they have this image in their head that for any budget amount, they're going to be able to get a home with every single thing that they want. And it's really not realistic. You know, most people, when they buy a home, you know, they're coming from renting a home. And so they've had to save up some money and make some sacrifices. And they're not going to get every single thing they want in the property that they're going to be living in unless they're willing to pay more. So I'll see a lot of buyers get into the marketplace and say, you know what, I'm just going to wait for the right property. And, you know, being a realtor, knowing their budget, looking at all the homes on the market, I know that they really need to up their budget if they want more, or they need to decide what's important to them. So just be realistic. A home is not going to have everything you want, or else, you know, wealthy people would never move, right? You're always going to want a little bit more than you can afford. So just be realistic and look at what are your must-haves, what are your needs, and what areas you want to be in. Common mistake number 4, and this is the most common and deadly mistake people make when buying a home, is not interviewing a few realtors. So what I typically see is that when people go to buy a home, they will generally work with either the first person they meet, or they will work with a family or friend, somebody who's close to them. So when you go to buy a car, you typically comparison shop, right? You look at 2 or 3 different cars. If you're a savvy shopper, you get multiple bids and quotes and see which each has to offer. And then from there, you make an informed decision. The National Association of Realtors in 2016 reported that 60% of consumers had a negative home buying or home selling experience. I believe this is due in part to the fact that people don't do their due diligence when interviewing realtors, and they just work with whoever is closest to them. This could be writing an offer with the listing agent of a property you love. That person is hired to represent the seller. They're hired to work against you. But consumers just walk into open houses and think, you know what, I'll just work with them. That's easier. And so a lot of times people will work with family and friends who have only been in the business a couple months. And while that's not a bad thing, I've met some hustlers that just crush it their first couple of years in real estate. But typically you want somebody with a reasonable level of experience who can advise you at all points in the transaction. So either work with an experienced realtor or work with a realtor who's on a team or partnered with somebody who's experienced and can guide you guys both through the process. Okay, common mistake number 5 is giving in to the opinions of family and friends. You know how it is when somebody is getting ready to have a baby or get married? All of a sudden, everybody comes out of the woodwork with the best advice possible for them. It's all differing advice, and it's typically given with a strong tone. You should never do this. You should always do that. It's strong, unsolicited advice, and the truth is, it affects us, right? We are influenced by it. So what happens when you go to buy a home? Well, the market is always different, and it's always changing. In the last 10 to 12 years, it's been going up and up and up and up and up. So if you're getting advice from somebody who bought a home 15, 20 years ago, they remember a market where it was going down. So they'll say things like, I would never overpay for a home, or I would never write an offer at the listing price. I'm always going to negotiate. While that's great, you don't want to let your pride to try to negotiate everything prevent you from becoming a homeowner. I've seen people try to be expert negotiators in first-time home buying, and what ended up happening is now they've negotiated themselves out of buying. They're renting and they haven't advanced financially. While I've seen my friends and family who've bought in homes, who've gained equity and they've advanced financially. So everybody's going to have an opinion. They're going to say, never buy a home with this, never buy a home with that. Do your best to do your due diligence when buying a home, and obviously don't pay a crazy amount. But if it's a home that you love and you have to write a little bit above the listing price and it's got the kitchen and the neighborhood you want, then don't be ashamed to just own that and get the home that you love, because you're the one who's going to be making that mortgage payment and you want to live somewhere that makes you happy. The 6th and final mistake that people make when buying a home is not understanding the cost and the effort that goes into a remodel. So what I would recommend to first-time home buyers or just people buying a home in general, if you haven't ever remodeled a home before, really take some time to do some due diligence and get an understanding of what does it cost to replace the flooring, to replace the kitchen, to do painting. Talk to your realtor. If you have a family or a friend that's a contractor, ask them their opinion, because a lot of times people will go into it thinking, oh, this, I saw on HGTV, the whole kitchen remodel cost $15,000. Well, it depends on where you're at. Depends on how big the home is. Depends on the supply and demand in the construction industry. I'm making this video in 2021 where we just had a huge crunch in the construction industry where the cost of wood doubled, tripled, and went up. So construction cost rose dramatically. So you have to keep all of that in context, but just get an understanding of what it would cost and also how long it takes. Some people come into it with the perception that, oh, the kitchen and floors are going to be remodeled in a week. Well, not really. It's probably going to take a few weeks to a month, depending on the type of remodel you have. So these are the 6 home buying mistakes that you want to avoid. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comment below and please like this post. Thanks so much and have a great day.